Right, I can't stand this idiot anymore. This is another thing I was going to say for part of SML's 2017 Problems 4, but since the Night Miner situation was solved anyways, and the fact that I'm frankly sick and tired of MegaDoop now, here we go, we're just gonna do it now. So let's not really talk about the issues involving SML between MegaDoop and I, because there are plenty of people who disagree with my opinion, some of which disagree by saying something along the lines of, well, I respectfully disagree with you, dabhdude, and others who just say,
F you, dabhdude, you are SML hater, kill yourself!
That all being said, I'd say, aside from Night Miner, I've never met someone this stupid. Why do I say that? Well, here's the deal with MegaDoop. He disagrees with me on many points, but this one major point is something I want to discuss. He thinks that it's okay to be rude to debate opponents so long as you're right. I told him this was a very flawed way of thinking, because guess what? 1, not everybody on Earth is just going to think you're right. And 2, this leads to people not listening to your points if all you're doing is being rude and simply shouting over other people. Now, of course, I was initially confused as to why he would choose this line of thinking. Then, of course, I realized why he thinks this way. Because he does this himself. Anyone, and I mean anyone, he disagrees with, he'll call an autistic spurg, he'll call them retarded, tell them to STFU, etc. This has caused many of his fans to, even though they agree with him, to concede to the fact that he is rude to people and it's kinda, well, annoying. This of course leads to debates going pretty much nowhere because MegaDoop thinks it'll be funny to just shout over people, which is always just wonderful. Just wonderful. That was sarcasm in case you didn't tell. This eventually causes whoever's trying to have a civil discussion with him to eventually throw their hands in the air and say they quit, thus making MegaDoop think he actually won, when in reality his opponent just got sick of his crap and left. Now there's 2 other major problems I'd like to mention about MegaDoop. There are many more, but most of them stem from what I had just mentioned. But the other problem has to be his server raiding. You see, MegaDoop likes to raid people's Discord servers with a bunch of his fans, which is really immature because he's not just targeting myself, but other people who have wronged him in literally no way. Now this is bad, but I thought this was a one-time thing on my Discord server, but no, turns out he does this often, and I've been informed of at least 3 examples. One is my server, another is Veilskybum's server, you know, Veilskybum, the one that makes the mediocre cartoon news videos, and finally Speechy, I hope I pronounced that right, who is a, can we call it, animation YouTuber? Yeah, that might be a stretch, but let's get back on point. Now this is all problematic because MegaDoop has done this at least 3 times, and yet when I was told about something that was going on with his server, and I decided to investigate, he called it a raid and yelled at me for it. Despite the fact that there were, if I remember correctly, only myself and 3 or 4 of my fans on there at a given time, and we weren't calling people names or spamming gore pictures. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention, some of MegaDoop's fans like to spam gore pictures on servers they raid. And what did we do to warrant all of this? Why, we disagreed with the great and mighty fount of knowledge that is MegaDoopTV. In fact, you know what? I'd go so far as to say that MegaDoop is probably worse than Night Miner was. Although it's pretty close, I'm gonna admit. Why? Well, that acts as a perfect segue into my next point. You see, MegaDoop is 18. Night Miner is 12. MegaDoop is an adult, but he sure isn't acting like one. At least Night Miner got the excuse of, at least for a while, that he was just a kid. MegaDoop never got that excuse. Night Miner also didn't raid Discord servers, let alone do so with a bunch of fans. MegaDoop does. And if MegaDoop had only wronged me, I wouldn't mind all of this nearly as much. But no, he wronged myself, my fans, and everyone else who even slightly disagrees with him, which is just kinda sad, honestly. Plus his ego is just way out of control. To quote something he said on Twitter, "Because what I say is correct. Almost everything I say has some value to it. Everything you say, however, is just absolute nonsense." So actually, this just in. Someone gave me a translation from MegaDoop to English. So let's read it. I am right and you're wrong because I said so! Ah, that makes more sense now. One other minor problem is the fact that MegaDoop claims to know things he clearly doesn't. Now this is about to get into some light politics, not too bad, but some light politics, so if you want to skip this, I'll leave a time code. I'll give you guys about 3 seconds. So one of the things I was able to catch was him trying to claim that the entire alt-right is just a bunch of Nazis. Now, say what you want about the alt-right, but I can tell you that's wrong. Sadly, the definition hasn't exactly been around long enough to have anything clearly set in stone. Personally, I see it as an umbrella term for most of everything right of Republican conservatism. Yes, while this would include Nazis, this would also include something I've called Trumpism, the Tea Party, many constitutionalists, etc. So calling it just a bunch of Nazis is far from accurate. And what was his best argument for this? Well, Richard Spencer was the person who made the definition. Despite this, the alt-right has all but disowned Richard Spencer at this point. Clearly, MegaDoop knows very little about the subject, and should probably know a bit more before he tries to touch stuff like this. Also, he says he's slightly left-leaning, or so he claims, so he probably learned about all of this stuff from MSNBC or something like that. Very reliable source, by the way, let me tell you what, definitely not fake news. But off the political subject, let's say I went into, who's someone I've had an argument with in the past? Let's say I went into Doodletone's Discord server, and started saying stupid stuff, and then every time someone tried to say something, I'd just interrupt them and call them retarded. You better believe I'd be having a bunch of trouble headed my way. MegaDoop should be no exception to this. So what should we do? Well, until a point in which MegaDoop is ready to grow up and acknowledge his mistakes and apologize, I think it would just be best to ignore him. Okay, guys? Well, anyways, that's all for now. Thank you all for watching, and take care.